Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Your Heart Shall Rejoice. This pretty much rejoice. This title pretty much captures, the sentiment that we will have when Yahushai returns. And we seeing these prophecies playing out the way that they're playing out. It's giving us a sense of joy, although we know that we're not done yet. And the scriptures say that. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Acts 14. And before I start, I want to make mention of something real quick, but let me get this precept to set the mode. It says, Acts 14:22, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of the Most High. So we know that there's still hardships and things that we have to deal with, until Yahushua comes and gets us out of here, because you still got the hour of temptation. You still have the implementing of the mark of the beast, which is the microchip, and many other pitfalls to go through. Some of you shall be put in prison 10 days that you may be tried, so on and so forth. But we're joyful in the fact that these prophecies are moving at an exponential rate now, which will cause them to be fully fulfilled, so that once all these prophecies are fulfilled, then all that's left is the kingdom, the deliverance and the destruction of this place. So before I really go into it, as always, I want to mention again, this is Elder Sakaran's page, GMS word drop like honey, with a space between drop and like. And your brothers go over there, support the elder. I put the link in the description box, because sometimes it is hard to find. Even if you spell it right, sometimes it just won't give you for some reason. And it's a lot easier when brothers put links in their description boxes so that brothers can click on them and get the information that brothers are going into, if possible. And it's not hard to do. You could do it on your phone. All you got to do is just go to the actual page and hit share and then hit copy, and then just paste it. You could paste it on the description box or on the comment board. But this is the elders page, so go support him. Subscribe to his page. But like I was saying, this time that we're living in is a beautiful time, because we're coming to the very wire, down to the very end. But we know that there's still obstacles and potholes and things that we have to go through before we actually get there, as it's told us in the book of 2nd Ezra's, the 7th chapter. And 7, the entrance thereof is narrow. I'm sorry, I started at 6. There is also another thing. A city is builded and set upon a broad field, and is full of all good things, which this city represents the kingdom. Right? It says the entrance thereof is narrow, because we know that the way to life is narrow, but the way to death is broad, as it tells us in the book of Matthew, the 7th chapter. It says the entrance thereof is narrow and is set in a dangerous place to fall. It says, like as if there were a fire on the right hand and on the left a deep water. So this path is so narrow, as it's going to say, that it says, and one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once. Because at the end of the day, this truth is, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. This is not a buddy system. We can't hold each other's hand, to make it into, because we're not going to walk into the kingdom holding hands. Now we can encourage each other. We can reprove each other. We can rebuke each other. We can encourage each other, but at the end of the day, only one man at a time is going to make it to the kingdom. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. It says, if this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance? And this is the deal. So we have to go through this narrow path. We have to go through this straight gate. And that's why it's through much tribulation we shall enter into the kingdom. But the reason why we're happy is because we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. While these prophecies are popping off and the people of the world are tripping and bugging out, we're understanding that these things are necessary for us to be delivered. And if you don't have that mindset, then you really don't understand what this truth is about. Because this truth is not about learning the breakdowns and learning everything just so you can go out there and just teach. That's a part of it. But the main part of this is what? For the reward. Just like the Apostle Peter and the other apostles asked Yahushua, we gave up everything. What are we going to receive in return? And he told them, you that have given up houses and wives and children and all of that shall receive 100-fold. So that's the mission, is to get to the finish line to receive the reward, to get into the kingdom, to have favor bestowed upon us when Yahushua comes with the angels cracking the clouds and bringing hell upon this place. And that Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, can smile upon us and have mercy upon us and bring us into the chariots in order to be delivered. All right. So we see these things happening, and this scripture came to mind yesterday, which I haven't read in a while. St. John 16:19. Now Yahushua knew that they were desirous to ask him. And by the way, this is where I got the title for the lesson. Now Yahushua knew that they were desirous to ask him, and said unto them, do ye inquire among yourselves of that I said a little while, and you shall not see me? And again a little while, and you shall see me? And this is pretty much the ultimate goal, is to see Yahushua again and to be delivered by Yahushua, because his name, Yahushua, Yah is he, Yahushua means deliverer. He's the one that's coming to deliver us, because he's the one that the Most High Yahweh set forth on that mission. So it says, verily, verily, I say unto you that you shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. And the world had been rejoicing for a long time. And we were weeping and lamenting because of the situation of the world, the more corrupt it was getting. The hardships, that we had to endure, the different situations we were faced with, the different decisions that we had to make, the constant, having to see shit that's wrong and having to bite down and can't say nothing, can't do anything because this is not our kingdom. It takes a toll on you. So it says, but the world shall, so it says, verily, verily, I say unto you that you shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice, and you shall be sorrowful, meaning full of sorrow, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. But this is the point. But your sorrow shall be turned into joy. And now that we see these things happening, which I'm going to come back to this, we're supposed to be in a rejoiceful mood, although we know that we haven't crossed the finish line yet. See, we rejoice with having in the back of our mind that there's still more to go. Don't rejoice like, oh, we made it already. No, because we didn't make it yet. But we're getting closer and closer. And we should be rejoicing as these things get closer and closer. This is St. Luke 21:27. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And this is why Yahushua said, and then you will rejoice. And as we see the day approaching, we'll rejoice also, because we see, these things happening. We see the end of the world and the coming of Yahushua being ushered in. It says, and when these things begin to come to pass, the earthquakes and the uproars of the people and the seas and the waves roaring, and the signs in the heavens and all these different things that are happening, the plagues upon Egypt as before. We see these calamities, financial calamities, race wars, a pestilence, all of these things that are happening. It says that when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh, because now is not the time to be in that sorrowful, depressed spirit, although it still comes around because we're still in the flesh. But for the most part, we should be more on a rejoicing type tip, because we know that we're about to be delivered from this hellhole called America and called the Esau's empire. All right, so going back to St. John 6:20, let's read that again. Verily, verily, I say unto you, that you shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice, and you shall be sorrowful. But your sorrows shall be turned into joy. And that's what we're experiencing now. That joy. That's why we're kind of laughing and, giggling a little bit, about different things. But we know that there's still more to go. But at the end of the day, we still are having a good time. And the Greek word for joy is chara, comes from Cairo, joy, gladness. The joy received from you, the cause of or occasion of joy, of persons who are one's joy. So the cause or occasion of joy. And why is it a cause or an occasion of joy? Because we know that the bridegroom is coming, and we see that the carpet is already rolled out. We see that the table is already set. We see that everything and all the preparations are prepared. We see that the rehearsals are just about finished. Everything is perfected, and all that's needed is for the bridegroom to come, to be joined with us. You see, it says, a woman, when she is in travail, hath sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she remembereth no more the anguish for joy that a man is born into the world. And you now therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and your joy no man taketh from you. Why? Because this is our hope. This is our faith. And we're in that 9th month of travail. Let's go real quick to Isaiah chapter 66. And let's start at 66. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of the Lord that rendereth recompense to his enemies. Before she travailed, meaning before Israel went into contraction mode, when she was about to have the baby. In other words, before we were to be delivered from our hardships, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. So before this pain or these afflictions came, we were already delivered of a man-child, because Yahushua was prophesied to have suffered these things before the world was created, before the world ever came into existence. Who had heard such a thing? Who have seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? And the answer to that is no, because there's a process. That's why, let's go from there to the book of, I believe that's James, the 4th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's the 5th chapter. And the so just bear with me 1 second. And the 7th verse. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. And this is what it is. It's all about being patient and suffering and waiting until Yahushua comes back. Behold, the husbandman. Who's the husbandman? He's the farmer, right? Waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth, because the earth, when you plant seed in this time, it doesn't just pop right up. It has to go through a process before it can actually bear fruit. and hath long patience for it, see, until he received the early and latter rain. Because you plant, you receive the early rain, then you have to wait, and then you receive the latter rain, because that is what's nourishing that seed so that it can grow into a tree, a vine, or whatever the case is, to bring forth fruit. It says, be ye also patient, establish your hearts. See, and that's the key, it's stability. Establishing the knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times. And this is why people are bugging out, because they don't have that stronghold of stability, that fortress, of this truth. Because a lot of them mocked at it, and overall, even going beyond that, they were not a part of the elect. Bottom line. Be ye also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. And this is why, when we go back to St. John 16 and 20, verily, verily, I say unto you that you shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice, and you shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. So going back to Isaiah 66 and 8, who hath heard such a thing, who hath seen such a thing, shall the earth made to bring forth in one day? And the answer is no. It says, or shall a nation be born at once? And the answer to that is no. For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. So as soon, before we even went through any hardship, the moment that we started going through the hardship, we were already delivered. Even though we had to go through those things in them different empires. Because it was already set up in the spirit before the world began that Yahushua was going to spill his precious blood for us. So we're at the point now of the deliverance. We're at the point now of the pain. But once the child is born, so to speak, then the pain goes away. And once Yahushua cracks the clouds, that's when the pain goes away. And we're seeing hints of him coming cracking the clouds. That's why we're joyful. That's why we're elated. Although we know that there's still more to go. Even though that we know that the marathon is not over yet. But the longest part of the marathon is coming to an end. But the very last bit of the marathon is the hardest, because that's when you have to really dig in. Because the hardest part is not the beginning. It may get a little trying in the middle, but really that last stretch is the hardest. That's when you really have to dig in. You see, so that's where we're at right now, and that's the travailing and birth. It says, shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth? So the Lord is not going to give us a miscarrying womb, so to speak. He brought us all the way here. We're in the travailing stages, and he will deliver us. Saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, saith thy power? See, rejoice ye with Jerusalem, and be glad with her, all ye that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all ye that mourn for her, that you may suck and be satisfied with the breast of her consolations. Because this is what's coming. Our consolations are coming. But you have some that could not wait. No? Just bear with me 1 second while I find this. Here we go. Let's go back to consolations. It's the Hebrew word thawach wa mawath. Consolations. And it comes from the Hebrew word nacham, which goes back to the word nach, which is Noah, which is comfort. See? And what is the main comfort that we're receiving now? We're receiving it through the scriptures, which is the comforter, and we're actually seeing these things. We're actually seeing the fruits of it coming to pass, which also gives us comfort. So this is the consolation when the Lord comes to deliver us and gives us that consolation. But there you have Israelites in this society that don't want to wait for that. Matter of fact, another precept came to mind. Let me go to that. Just bear with me while I find the verse. All right, let's go back. Luke 6:24. But woe unto you that are rich, for you have received your consolation. See? So you have those that have received their consolation. They're not going through the hardships that we're going through. Let's go from there to the book of, let me bring another tab up. Like I said, this is one of my favorite precepts. 1 Corinthians 11:32. It says, but when we are judged, we are chastened of the Lord, that we should not be condemned with the world. So the world is condemned. The world has received their consolation. And the word for consolation in this one is paraklesis, which goes back to the Hebrew word parakleo, which means a calling near, summons, importation, supplication, entreaty, exhortation, admonition, encouragement, consolation, comfort, solace, that which affords comfort or refreshment. And our comfort and our refreshment is not going to come until the kingdom of heaven. Let's go from there to the book of Matthew 19. We quoted it, but let's go to it. Matthew 19:27. It says, then answered Peter and said unto him, behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? In other words, what is our consolation? What is our reward? What is our comfort? And Yahushua said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, which is in the reincarnation, when the Son of Man shall sit on the throne of his glory, which is what? The kingdom of heaven. You also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is going to be part of the consolation, the main prize. And every one that hath forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. But not until Yahushua comes back. If you have your consolation now, then you don't need a consolation. Now you will have some people out there that are rich that will be delivered because they will be helps. They will help, brothers out in situations, because they have the money to do that, and that would be their deliverance and their lot, because not every Israelite that's rich is going to be destroyed. That's why Yahushua said, hardly can a rich man enter into the kingdom of heaven. Doesn't mean that there won't be any, but it's very hard for someone that has all the amenities and the goodies of this life to put that away to come into this truth. That's why that young man was so sorrowful. It said that Yahushua loved him. He said, all these I keep from my youth. What lack I yet? Because he asked Yahushua, what do I have to do to receive everlasting life? Yahushua said, look, go and sell everything that you have. And he went away sorrowful because he had great riches. And that's the point. Most people would not be willing to part with that. But now there will be rich men and women among Israel that will be delivered. And they'll see the situation that's going on and they will help out. You see? But for the most part, the rest of the Israelites out there, especially those that sold out, they received their consolation, their comfort, their solace, that which affords comfort or refreshment. So let's read that again. But woe unto you that are rich, for you have received your souls, because you have received your consolation, because they pretty much sold their soul. Let's go to that. Matthew 16 and 24. Then said Yahushua unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. And this is something that most people will not be willing to do, is deny themselves. It says, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. Yeah, because just because you made it in this life don't mean anything. This world is temporary, it's temporal. And whosoever shall will lose his life for my sake shall find it. See? We're taking L's, we're called losers, we call bad this and bad that, you're not a good role model, you're not, But The Lord said that if we lose our life, we shall find it. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? See? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Because once you sell your soul, that's it. You're either going to give your soul to Yahweh Bashem El Shai, or you're going to give your soul to Satan. And once you give your soul to Satan, there's no coming back from that. Unless the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai somehow brings out his tender mercies and forgives a person, because the scriptures say that all manner of sin may be forgiven. But it's very hard for a person, once they sold his soul, to come back out of that. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? There's nothing you can give for a ransom. That's why the scriptures speak about, let's go real quick to Romans chapter 12 and 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, because this is our sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. But if you sell out, there's nothing you could do in exchange for your soul, because you didn't give your soul to the Most High, Yahweh Bashem El Shai. You gave it to Esau and Satan. For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then shall he reward every man according to his works. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So let's look up this word reward here. Reward. Apodedome, if I'm pronouncing that, which I know I'm not. To deliver, see? That is the reward, deliverance. To give away for one's own profit what is one's own, to sell, to pay off, discharge what is due, a debt, wages, tribute, taxes, produce due. Because, we are indebted to do this work. We are yoke prisoners. We are prisoners to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua in this truth. And the only way to be released from this sentence is either by death or by when the Lord comes back to redeem his kingdom, his people, his elect. And that's when it's over. It says things promised under oath, conjugal duty, to render account, to give back, restore, to requite, recompense, in a good or a bad sense. And this is where we're dealing with, because you're going to have those that are going to be recompensed for the good, which is the deliverance, and those that will be recompensed for the bad, which is the destruction. So let's read that again. For the Son of Man shall come in the glory. Okay, so we read that. Let's move on from there. So let's go from there to Hebrews 11 and 24. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. See? Esteeming the reproach of Yahushua greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. Wow. The recompense of the reward. That's a hell of a lesson right there. Mestapodosea, payment of wages due, recompense. See, because we will receive a payment. And what is that payment for all of our hard work and dedication and sufferings? The gift and reward of deliverance. And then what? The kingdom. And all the amenities that come with it. So that's beautiful, man. So let's read that again. Esteeming the reproach of Yahushua greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. All right, because he didn't sell out. So let's see. All right, so let's go back to St. John Let's read 16 and 22 again. And you now therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and your joy no man taketh from you. Why? Because then will be given to us what? The reward of salvation and the first dominion. Now verse 33, matter of fact, I started 31. Yahushua answered them, do ye now believe? Behold, the hour cometh, yea, is now come, that you shall be scattered, every man to his own, and shall leave me alone. Yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me you might have peace. See, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. And the same way he overcame the world, he gave us that ability to overcome the world also. Matthew 28 and 20, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. So be true. So Yahushua is with us always, even unto the end of the world. See if I look up the word always. Pause. Individually, each, every, any, all, the whole, everyone, all things, everything, collectively, sum of all. So Yahushua is always with us on all levels in our walk. You know, I had some other precepts that I wanted to go over, but Lord's will, I could save that for another lesson. That'll be a good lesson, you know, for another time or later on if the Lord allows. But I'll leave you, brothers, with this last precept, Isaiah 40 and 1. Comfort ye, my people, say of your power. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned. For she hath received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. And now it's time for the recompense, the good reward. Let's see what we have here. All right, let's go to warfare. The word there is tazabah, which is army. That which goes forth, army, warfare, host. All right, let's go back. Her warfare is accomplished. The word accomplished is mala'ah. To fill, be full. Abundance, be accomplished, be ended. To conquer. So it's the hell that we've gone through has come to an end, but we still have a little stretch more to go. And this is going to be the most difficult part of it, because it's the last stretch. You know, you're at your wit's end. You know, you're tired. You know, like when you're running that marathon. But this is the time when you have to dig in. This is when the champs dig in and muster all of the energy they have left inside of them to make it to that finish line, because they know once they make it to the finish line, all of that will be over with. Everything will be over with. It's behind them, so on and so forth. And that's what we're going through. We're going to the last stretch. You know, matter of fact, let me leave you with Hebrews 10. Let's start at the 22. Let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. And this is where our mindset should be. Rejoicing because we see the day approaching. Let me get two precepts if I can remember them. And Proverbs 4:18. But the path of the just is as a shining light that shineth more and more unto that perfect day. And that's what we're getting, moving towards, that perfect day, you know, as the day approaches. 2 Peter 3 and 12. Looking for, let's start at 11. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought you to be in all holy conversation and godliness? Looking for and hasten unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And we know that in the midst of that, according to Psalms, the 91st chapter, we will be delivered. You know, if we are those elect, and we hope to be those elect. That's why we give diligence and make our calling and election sure. So spudo, which is hasten, to haste, make haste, to desire earnestly. See? And that's our earnest expectation. The earnest expectation of the creature. Because we know that once Yahushua gets back and delivers us, that's it. No more suffering for Israel. All tears wiped away from the eyes of Israel. All sorrow being wiped away. The only sorrow we will ever have again after the deliverance will be when we see Yahushua in the mangled body that he was in while he was on the cross. And that'll be the last time that we will ever shed a tear. You know, so that we can see what he looked like, you know, and the great sacrifice that he made for us to be able to make it up until this point. You know, and that'll be the final, you know, tear jerker, so to speak, you know, that we will ever have to go through. You know, and it's only fitting that we see our Lord the way that he was on that cross, the way that the Most High saw him, you know, for us. All right. So with that, you know, I pray that your brothers have been edified. Stay strong. You know, stay vigilant. You know, stay spiritual. You know, keep your eyes open. Be circumspect. And Lord's will, with that, you were edified. Until the next time I say, Shalom. Faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promise. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. And this is where our mindset should be. Rejoicing because we see the